think, John.
Are they? Are they coming out in droves to listen to us right now on July 10th, 2025? Hope everyone had a nice 4th of July weekend and still have all of their appendages attached. No fireworks mishaps. That would not be good. Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, alongside myself, John Laws, as we are talking about a number of things this evening that are happening throughout South Florida. And Larry, we'll get started right away with the idea of Palm Beach home prices still being a little too high. According to the Palm Beach Post, they are still 15% overvalued, the home prices, that is. But obviously people are still buying. So is this just the new normal, or is the market overpriced? I don't know. You're the expert, Larry, but here's what we're going to talk about here. In April 2025, we saw a 5% drop in home sales, but median prices stayed put at $645,000. That at least is according to Realtor.com. Now, I know you always like talking about that absorption rate, inventory hitting 5.9 months, which is actually a sign of near perfect balanced market. Not quite a buyer's, not quite a seller's, so that's good. But, you know, what is with this 15% overvaluation, Larry? What is happening?
Well, you know, it's so interesting when you look at different sources printing different data, right? I actually cross-checked this with some of our stuff, some of the realtor stuff, some of the reventure stuff. And then, and you can go look at Redfin, you can go look at Zillow, you can kind of look at all this stuff. And it's interesting to compare. And the numbers are different. The trend overall is the same, I would say, right? I think that's the theme here. So this article suggests that prices are coming down, and that's I would say that's valid. The theme is that prices are dropping. It's interesting when you segment it out by single family homes in non-membership equity communities or condos or things like that, like townhomes. And you can see a much different, you can have a much different perspective on how things look there too, right? So,
right.
Are things overpriced? Most of the sources that you look at suggest we are in an overvalued position. But this article also talks about how we're in a very unique micro market, that it might just be how it's going to be, right? We're always going to remain in this like place of things feel expensive.
I would say overvaluation.
Yeah.
In the land of overvaluation or valuation, excuse me.
You know, this is interesting. They said April 2025 saw a 5% drop in home sales. That's home sales. And then they say the median sales price stayed fixed at $645K. And so you got to look into this data. Like, what is this year over year data, month over month? What are they?
It is kind of vague.
So it's vague. And so you just really, and this is what we go into all the time when we do our market reports. Like, let's talk about what this actually is. And you can think about it however you want to think about it. Like, if you agree with, you know, looking at it that way or not. For example, here, let's, you know, I love doing this. Let me share my screen.
Well, I mean, and before you go into that, I guess my logic would be, seeing as how the prices themselves have stayed steady despite the drop in sales, that the people don't necessarily need to sell. I would assume that means they're like secondary homes to so many people around here, because obviously, you know, if you're living in Boca Raton, generally you're doing okay, or in Palm Beach County for that matter.
Yeah,
that would be my theory. Is that totally off?
Well, I think that's one of the saving graces, if you will, of this market. Like, a lot of sellers don't need to sell if they don't get their price, and they pull their properties off the market. And actually, that's one of the things we're seeing a lot of in general across the country. It's like you have these sellers that have these fixed low interest rate loans. They bought them for much cheaper than what they're asking for today, and they can make the decision to become a landlord, just stay put or whatever. So they're pulling property off the market. So you have this like inventory that's climbing which we can talk about. Like, just take a look at this. This is the number of listings going up, the active inventory in Palm Beach County. And you can see it started to drop off over the past couple months, which is pretty interesting. But so that's like that's a positive signal that, you know, the market's still healthy. But it also could just mean like there was a number of sellers that were trying to get their number. They didn't get their number, so they pulled the property off the market. So it's so this drop here is a combination of people pulling their property off the market and people selling their homes, right? At a pace that's greater than the new active inventory hitting the market. So that's something to keep in mind when you think about this stat. Like, is this actually all, oh, wow, homes are selling, more homes are selling than are going on the market? Kind of, but not really, because there's a lot of people that are just pulling them off the market. But, you know, to go back to this, like, hey, median prices stayed put at $645K. Just like, I don't necessarily know where these guys are getting this number from. But if you look at Palm Beach County as a whole, on our stats, June 2025, June 2025, the median sale price was $501,000, and June 2024, the median sold price was $520,000. So it's down about 3.5%, 4%, right? So median sold price is down, whereas this says it's flat. And then if you look at, what was this? Inventory in a balanced market, absorption rate, right? That's what this is.
I was looking at that absorption rate line chart just above you.
Yeah. So
go back up. I mean, that caught my attention because I feel like that had just been slowly but surely climbing for a while. I mean, that's the first time that I can remember. We've been doing those market reports for a while now that it's actually kind of started to dip back down a little bit, you know, get into that equilibrium.
Yeah, it does feel like the market is either hitting an equilibrium or people are just pulling their properties off the market for sale during the summer.
Well, yeah,
it's one of the two. It's because again, it's if inventory was coming down and it was because people are buying, you might not see as much of a reduction in the median sale price. But then again, if you look at the average sale price, which we all know can be skewed by big sales in any given month, it's up 4.39%. So I think here's my takeaway from this data that's slightly conflicting, because again, you have the 7.8 absorption rate compared to this article's 5.9 absorption rate, right? Yeah. And so like that's very different. We're either in a neutral market or we are in a pretty aggressive buyer's market based on these two numbers. And so my takeaway is this: the market is changing, and it's likely prices are coming down. If not, they're going to remain pretty fixed or flat. We're unlikely to see prices climb or go up. I think that's something that like some people need to hear because they believe prices are going up. On the other hand, too, I think what I'm about to say here, some people need to hear too. I don't think we're headed into like this market crash where you're going to see 10 to 20% price drops year over year. I don't think that's going to be the case either. So you have these like sellers that think prices are going up and they're holding off, and you have buyers that think prices are dropping substantially enough that it'll matter, and they're waiting and they're holding off. And so you get this like weird market of like conflicting opinions. And so I think the truth is somewhere in between that. I think the truth is values probably aren't going up for the next 3 years. And prices probably aren't coming down enough that it matters to not buy now if you're ready to buy. Like, you should buy if it makes sense to buy now for you personally,
right?
Not wait for this like 15% price drop. Because think about what
you said. I mean, that's not going to happen.
It feels unlikely. It feels unlikely, and it feels very unlikely that prices go up. So if I was a buyer, and I've said this to some of my friends that are like, oh, I'm thinking about buying a condo in Miami. I'm like, well, do you need to buy one right now? No, I don't really need to. And it's not really a perfect moment for me. I'm like, well, then don't rush. No big deal. Right. Like, cause I don't think you need to like get in today because prices are going to be substantially higher tomorrow. In 2019 and 2020, I did this. I bought a place right as I started to see things climb, because I was like, "Oh, this is weird, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford this thing ever again. So let me go do this right now." Right.
Mhm.
And I did it. And fortunately, that was the right decision. Today, if I was in the same state of mind, "Ooh, should I buy something?" I'd probably just be like, if I don't need to buy it, or it's not like the right moment for me, like, you probably wait till next year to get it to buy. But don't wait because you think you're going to make so much more money on the purchase. That's probably not the reason to wait. It's the reason to wait is, this isn't the perfect moment for me, and you don't need to be rushed because probably prices aren't going up. So, and maybe prices are coming down a little bit, and you'll benefit from that. But if prices come down like another 3% over from now till next year, like, does that really materially matter to you if you're going to be holding a house? If you're buying a house that you're going to live in for the next 10 years, it almost doesn't matter, right? In fact, like timing the market 3% plus or minus is pretty hard, probably, right? That's my rant on this. Like, I just don't like.
Well, no, I mean, that's interesting because I have been seeing a lot of that lately. 15% is kind of the magic number I keep seeing that with. I mean, it seems like the media in general is picking up on a lot of it, that 15% overvaluation on homes in Palm Beach County. I have seen it on a number of different,
This is interesting. So check this out. So overvaluation. So this is another source. Palm Beach County, 16.6%. And what does it say here? 15%, right? So, like, again, these things are all, the trend line is similar. The stats, or where they're pulling the data from, is slightly different, right? But it's all very similar. It's like this market, we have not seen negative numbers or overvaluate. Well, we've seen overvaluation numbers, but we haven't seen negative price growth numbers until the past 3 months. So the fact that this is like happening, like you're seeing negative numbers, is just a signal in itself that the market is softening and things are likely coming down and or going to remain flat. And that doesn't just like happen overnight in either direction. Like it doesn't change tomorrow. Like if you think you're going to wait 6 months to sell your home and it's going to be better, I really question that. I think it's unlikely that's the case. I think it's likely you wait 3 years and you're in a better position, most likely, or 5 years.
How are we going to make a clickbait video if it's not all doom and gloom? And the market's not going to crash tomorrow. You're talking about reasonable downturns.
I'll give you the market is going to crash tomorrow, John.
All right. Details at 11.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Now clip that and you got it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting. Also, I noticed here that there was neighborhood snapshots on some of the cities in Palm Beach County. I love how we can summarize the entire town in a couple words here. That Boynton Beach, higher inventory, active buyers. Delray Beach, high-end condo, still strong. Don't see that too often. Wellington, family buyers, love the schools. And Lake Worth, budget friendly, emerging fast. So
I think the what's interesting is this, I hear this a lot, this population growth thing, where like, oh, everybody's going back now, like from the people who are like doom and gloom. And it's like, it's suggesting that population growth is down, not up. But like, if you look at some of these stats here, population growth is generally positive here in Palm Beach County. And so like it might not be 3.2% today, but it's generally still positive. So we're still getting this population growth. It's just less of it, right?
Oh yeah, we've talked about that before. It's like the equivalent of inflation. You know what I mean? It's like inflation is down, but that doesn't mean it's not still going up. That's how it works.
Exactly.
So until you're getting negative population growth, then people are not coming anymore.
Yeah, if you get net migration out of the state, like that's or out of the area, that's a problem. But generally, we're in a good spot. We're in a good position here in South Florida. I'm bullish.
All right, that's good to know.
For the long term, we'll put it that way. Short term, it'll be different.
which for anyone interested, Larry goes much more in depth with a lot of that in this month's housing market update, which we'll have online either this weekend or early next week. All right, moving along. We got Waldorf Astoria coming to Pompano Beach. And if you're one of those people that's kind of like, hey, why do I care? I guess we'll get into that. You have a $160 million loan that just landed in Pompano for the Waldorf Astoria. Some believe that this is a loan that kind of rebrands the entire city, really, because Waldorf Astoria is a recognizable brand. We've been talking about Pompano Beach and its growth for a while, but then when you start putting some recognizable labels on some of these buildings, it certainly changes the dynamic a little bit from a public, an outsider's perception of Pompano Beach and what it's become. Because frankly, including myself, I mean, if you're not from South Florida, if you're not from Florida, you've not necessarily heard of Pompano Beach. I know I hadn't.
Yeah, Pompano Beach is definitely up and coming. Every one of these cities in South Florida have a unique
claim to something going for them.
Yeah, or something positive in the future that's coming. And so Pompano's unique scenario is, for a multitude of reasons, there's a lot of big time developers building ultra luxury condos on the ocean and on the intercoastal, right? So on the island, they're just going for it. And the condos are selling, right? They noted on here that this thing's like 60 or 70% sold, pre-sold. This project's not even done yet, 60, 70% pre-sold in a market that's changing in South Florida, right? You're in a changing market and you're still crushing it like this. Super interesting. We've even seen like the Alina, for example, those sales, they're trying to get out the last ones, right? They're almost done. They pre-sold really well. They got everything done, but they're struggling to get some of these last ones out. Now, usually the last ones are either the most expensive or the maybe least desirable, right?
The $40 million penthouse. It's like, I don't understand why it won't sell.
So that I get. So, but the early buyers have jumped in here and bought, up 60, 70% of this building. And I think part of it is this thing we talked about, like they're branding with, like they're building buildings with big brands attached to them.
Right. We were talking about that with Miami before.
Yeah.
Like all those car makers, like a Ferrari Plaza or Lamborghini luxury resort, whatever. I mean, which is not a bad idea. I mean, it's kind of like, I look at it as the same difference as sort of a company slapping their names on the side of stadiums. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It helps pay the bill. I mean, hey, more power to you.
I thought the best one yet has been 11, which is basically a strip club that now has a condo, a luxury condo building.
Do you remember about 10 years ago or whatever, the port side, I think it was Bang Bros was trying to buy the rights to the Miami Heat's arena. You remember that? I think American Airlines, whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, and I'm sure they could afford it. Right. It just, I guess they wanted to class up to join a little bit.
What is Dana saying here? She's saying Kodak Black has the key to Pompano. It's only up from here. Thanks, Dana.
I was gonna say I see a lot of comments for those. Oh, okay. Oh, you were replying to all of them. Look at you multitasking.
I'm doing it.
Okay, so
Waldorf is expected to be finished, for those who are interested, in towards the end of 2026, early 2027. I would expect early 2027, but they took a $160 million loan, as we talked about. It's a 28-story oceanfront building with 92 luxury residences. And again, 70% sold.
I was going to say that's a lot.
They've unloaded 60 of these or pre-sold them, right? So they don't really technically, how pre-sales work for anybody who's interested is they put a big deposit down. And in Florida, this is very unique for developers. Why developers really love building in South Florida, they can do this pre-sale thing and collect a bunch of pre-sale money and use it to fund the construction, right? So the goal as a developer in South Florida for these big buildings is pre-sell as much as you can in order to help fund the project, so you don't have to take as much debt or as much equity from your investment group. And so there's a threshold that these guys need to get to on the pre-sale side in order to make this thing work, because they may have underwritten 50% pre-sale, right? So anything above that is just like gravy for them probably, but they've like looked at their risk tolerance, like how much, do we really want to invest? And the less they put in, the bigger their return is. over time.
Interesting. I didn't realize that was a concept that not necessarily unique to Florida, but more popular here versus a lot of other places.
It is 100% it's a very attractive thing for Florida developers to do something like that. So it's unique. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I understand there's a value here because we work with a few big guys like this that do these things, and they've worked the models with me when I do this with them, and it's just interesting how it just dramatically changes their returns. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
well, that makes a little more sense too, I guess, in terms of trying to secure these loans. I'd imagine they present that data in terms of pre-sales to the potential investors and people willing to bankroll the operation.
100%. It's a part of the model. It's 100% part of the model. So, and again, there's been so many of these successful executions in Pompano that these big developers like Related, who's doing this one, they can make this happen. They can make this business decision very easily. So now Pompano has become the spot where you can underwrite this stuff. You can pencil this stuff pretty easily because there's been 8 other buildings that have successfully executed this same model. So, and some of the aging inventory or the opportunity to buy some of these co-ops or whatever exists in Pompano. So that's Pompano's specialty. Also, Pompano had a huge investment from the city on their waterfront side of things, right? They have the pier and all the other things, which kind of again gave these investors the motivation or the confidence to go in here and do this because the city of Pompano has been investing.
Say the incentive.
Yeah.
It is fascinating to me that it has taken this long because looking at some of these notes, there's no doubt when you look at all of these communities up and down the coast, be it Broward or Palm Beach County, I mean, there aren't too many spots that you would consider that underdeveloped, but yet Pompano seems to have been one of them, and it doesn't have a lot of the same building restrictions as we've talked about many times with Delray Beach, among others. So yeah, it's kind of like in hindsight, I look at some of these and been like, what took you so long?
Yeah, right. So like Delray, you can't, there's no opportunity to build these big buildings, whereas Pompano, there is. And there's a number of reasons why Delray, you can't do that there. So then again, you have this unique opportunity, and Delray has its own unique advantages.
Right.
It's if somebody's looking to buy a condo on the water, this is like a more nuanced discussion, right? On which city you would want to be in South Florida. And there's pros and cons to each one of them.
Yeah. I mean, even Boca is still relatively small in comparison to as West Palm Beach. And I guess what we're going to be saying soon about Pompano by design. So yeah, I think that's very smart to have variety and different people like different things. Some people are into all the glitz and glamour and the super high rises, so on and so forth. And others like myself that are very much into the total opposite. So, different strokes, right?
I would say though, South Florida in general is relatively dense compared to most places in the world. And the proximity to things and stuff to do and just things to buy, like groceries and things like that is everything's very close. Right. So versus other parts of the country. And some people don't understand that early on when they're relocating from other places. Right. So,
yeah. Oh, I know. I'll tell you, I didn't understand when I was living in Atlanta for a while because traffic had gotten so incredibly bad there. But to not be in neighborhoods where you don't have all those things right around, I felt like I spent an entire day just running a few errands. It was crazy. So, we all learn and grow at different rates, Larry.
Let's talk about
our mystery. Are we going to talk about our mystery buyer, our $250 million real estate mystery? Somebody evidently has spent $250 million buying up land in Palm Beach, and supposedly no one knows who it is. But we will talk about what we do know and why it could be a forever game changer. Wow. You got some interesting names, and people are just throwing it out there like, oh, is Bill Gates building a mega estate? I do recall his daughter. Doesn't he have a place in Wellington because his daughter was into equestrian? So it's not like Bill, doesn't have ties here. I mean, there are other former people that were in Palm Beach that were on certain lists. Possibly.
It's interesting to me that
inside Palm Beach, but I'm not even going to go there. But anyway, I see Gates, I see Steve Ballmer, Bon Jovi, a lot of others. That is kind of exciting to know who the next super celebrity may be buying up a whole lot of land. What were you saying?
It's interesting to me that somebody has been able to keep this under wraps for so long. Whoever's buying this, right? Like in most cases,
I thought you were talking about the list.
No, there you go. My guess it's Diddy.
It's not a bad guess.
That's what somebody just commented.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, he's got one in Miami already.
Yeah, there you go. Right. He's yeah. So this is super interesting. Usually it comes out, right? So this is pretty unique that it's been hidden this well. I guess the story here is just that this buyer has like this connection to the Gates Foundation. It's an attorney that's on some documentation or something. So that's why people are like pointing to Gates and anyone connected to Microsoft or the Gates Foundations. Whereas it could just be the attorney, or the attorney's just representing some party, and they're the name on record on this thing. So it's like it's super interesting, or it could be nobody like that at all. So yeah. But what's interesting about this is a huge sale for Palm Beach County, or just Palm Beach, right? So I guess the story goes, in 2023 there were 2 rare parcels on North Ocean Boulevard that were for sale, and by who was it? William Lauder, which is interesting. Yeah,
the Estee Lauder, right?
Yes, exactly. The guy who ate whatever
I believe he just died recently.
Maybe
the co-founder.
So this is the estate that was purchased for an undisclosed amount of money, and they believe it to be somewhere close to the asking price when it was originally on the market, which is $200 million, which is a bananas amount of money. And they have about 360 feet of water frontage, which is super rare in Palm Beach. On Palm Beach Island, it's very hard to get that today. So, and it's on the north end, which is very private, right? There's no bridge up here, so you're only going south, which is pretty unique. So anyway, so this individual bought this, and then they bought this one across the street, and then this one across the street. And so they've been just like stacking these properties. It's like, what
must be nice.
And so supposedly they tried to make an offer for Bon Jovi's home, which I don't know which one.
Well, that's what I thought. I remember hearing his name recently. Yeah.
So, So though anonymous, the buyer's LLC is traced back to Grayson Blue, a Seattle attorney with past ties to the Gates Foundation and its affiliated entities. So,
Dana here is saying that it's Charles Simonyi, the early Microsoft developer who is credited for spearheading the project that produced Microsoft Word and Excel.
Dana's dialed in.
I was going to say, so that's why I need to curse under my breath every other day when I'm trying to use that and something goes wrong.
That's the guy.
Yeah. Damn you, anyway, Charles.
This is let's see, Bon Jovi. So the plot twist: Bon Jovi was I guess Bon Jovi's estate for $43 million. He paid in 2020. Again, word is they made a run at this property right here. So $43 million estate, which is just like another huge number. So somebody's like just got unlimited amount of money. This is $250 million somebody just spent.
I mean, that's like just FU money that they're just throwing around to buy up properties in Palm Beach.
Yeah. So they're building something to rival Palm Beach's largest legacy estates, like Ken Griffin's $400 million compound, or Jeff Bezos's portfolio in Indian Creek Village, which is Miami.
Right. I was going to say, it's a little farther south.
Yep. But it's just wild. It's wild. So anyway, this is the kind of money we see in Palm Beach County and South Florida. Another reason why like the high-end stuff just continues to do well. Like the market, the macro market, does not really impact these guys very much.
Well, I was going to say, once upon a time, wasn't this more of like how the West Coast was in Southern California? Like everybody was buying up in the hills.
Yeah. You know what, though? I know nothing about the California market besides.
No, neither do I. But I mean, it's just like if you had asked me, not knowing anything else about it, traditionally based on reputation, I just assume that's where all the money always went.
We have some clients that we will sell their homes here, and they're going back or whatever, and they've told us stories like today.
No, but then their house burned down, and
yeah, and then they came back again. Yeah. Well, a long story short, the market's pretty competitive over there still. So it's kind of interesting that, again, California is not dead either. They've said New York was dead. It's not dead.
No,
these big cities, they're strong.
I was going to say the demise is always over exaggerated.
It totally 100%. And the same goes for South Florida. Like the world's not ending here, although you might see some publications that suggest otherwise. So yeah, let's talk about the next one. Boca's next hotspot.
What's going on Yamato Road, Larry?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. We touched on this when it was like first announced, right? Mm-hmm. And now we have like actual information. When it was rumors, right? And we're trying to figure out who was building it, what was going on, and we kind of figured it out. So and our guesses were right, by the way, John. So this is what
guesses were right. Come on, I'm not going to take any of the credit here.
We did this live. We looked up Sunbiz. We tried to nail down who it was, right? Yeah. So we looked through this. We figured it out by just like finding out who was the signer on the document and went through the process. Anyway, so it's 13th Floor Investments. They've actually unveiled their rendering and the proposal to the city recently about what they're trying to do here. So it's an 8-story project. That's right by the tracks on Yamato, and it has a unique. I don't want to say it's first of its kind, but it's a unique project that has a partnership with this federal government to build these affordable units that are close to that are close to areas that have that are walkable and have transit options, right? So this is kind of interesting. I'll show you where this is.
So I'm trying to think. Is this just right on the other side of 95?
Let me
trying to picture.
Bingo. So it's right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. So just to zoom out, this is Yamato Road. You got Innovation Campus. It's huge, and there's a lot going on there. They're redeveloping a lot of that. There's redevelopment going on across the street. Downtown Boca, for whatever it's worth, for people who don't know, is down here. So this is, though, right next to the Tri-Rail station, which is the commuter train in South Florida. And so this will be efficient if you use the commuter train. Like living here is super easy. Plus, there's some good restaurants in here and things like that. LA Fitness, et cetera.
I was gonna say that's the LA Fitness I go to.
Yeah, it's a great it's like a good location. And then there's other development projects we've talked about over here and so on. But this is the location where they're looking to build. Yeah, so let's see. So total 296 residential units, 12,000 plus square feet of commercial space, and 431 space parking garage, which is huge for this area because, again, it's right next to the transit option. So there needed to be more parking here. Like, for example, if you're taking the train, this is all the parking they had, which was a mess. It's not enough space that they need. Plus, they're taking up some of this, so this will be good. Let's see. The property is currently a 3.5 acre office site, meaning a total transformation, right? So it's like, yeah. So I guess this is planned for that, but there's nothing here right now for context. So, yeah.
It's one of those I'm like picturing in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, there really is nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there because we looked at it. Remember, we were looking at it last time.
Well, I was like, but I mean, I drive by it all the time. I'm like, hey.
Okay, so this is what I was referencing or alluding to earlier. It's the 8-story development is being delivered through a public-private partnership with the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, which selected 13th Floor Investments through a competitive RFP process to transform the publicly owned site into a vibrant mixed-use hub. Let's see, there's going to be some retail in there. Let's see. Yeah, so 1,300 to 6,000 square feet space. Anyway, there's a lot going on over there. So
I was going to say that's very ambitious considering it's not that much space, or at least I don't ever think of that.
It doesn't feel like there's a lot of space there.
No, because I go by that parking lot all the time, and it's not very big, and yet they're putting that huge thing next to it. I'm like,
it doesn't feel that way. So, like if you're there, it's like, how are they going to fit this big thing in it? And who knows? So, let's talk about our boy Grant Cardone.
Ah, yes, somebody other than Ryan Serhant, I feel like we're talking about now.
So our buddy Grant Cardone just dropped $230 million all cash bid on the Boca Raton apartment tower. This is interesting. This Boca Raton apartment tower here that we're about to explain more about as a history, right? It has a history. Yeah, for sure. So Grant Cardone is going after 101 Via Meisner, a luxury multifamily property in Boca Raton, offering a full cash bid while the owner files for bankruptcy, which is, what's the company again that filed for bankruptcy? You know the name.
Not Penn.
Yes, Penn, Florida.
Penn, Florida.
So they developed that property, and then the next phase of the development was the building next door, which is, why am I forgetting?
Mandarin.
Mandarin. The Mandarin.
It's on the 7-year plan.
Yeah, it's on the So the Mandarin's having a tough time getting off the ground. They are working on it. I don't know if you walk by.
I see it. Yeah, I go by it sometimes. I mean, it's slowly. It's like, oh, hey, I noticed something different every time I go by.
Yeah, they stucco the exterior on. Oh, not all the exterior, some of the exterior, whatever. So the project's moving forward. Don't know how or why, but they filed bankruptcy / Blackstone, who lent the money to Florida Penn, filed foreclosure or some version of that on the entity itself. And then they filed bankruptcy. Penn Florida filed bankruptcy. And now it looks like they're trying to sell off some stuff to probably get this project finished. It looks like. And so there's 2 parts of this project, right? Which is the apartment building and then the Mandarin. And so the apartment building looks like.
So 101. So I was a little confused. So it's not finished. I mean, it looks finished.
No, 101 Via Meisner was finished years ago.
Okay.
And it's an active rental community. We've worked with clients that were renting there and then sold, then purchased homes or rented other places. Recently, we just put somebody that left there in Tower 155. So long story short, it looks like Penn Florida, who owns both these projects, is selling the one that they finished, possibly to Grant Cardone, possibly if he wins the bid. Which is interesting. Grant.
That was the other. I was going to ask you. That was my question, because I saw it was a bid. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, here it is, done.
We got to stay tuned to this. I'm super curious.
And that was in mid-June as well. Like, how long does it take before they decide?
I'm sure they've probably chosen someone. We don't know what's going on, and it'll close. Or there's more complications to this than just accept the offer, sell it, because there's bankruptcy and all these other things going on. But who knows? It looks like So it looks like it's a 366 unit Class A apartment building, 14 stories, and they were asking $230 million. And Grant, what do we refer to him as? Uncle Grant, I think is what he calls himself.
I don't know.
Uncle Grant threw a $230 million asking price bid on this deal, and so we'll see what happens. So the building is being sold as part of a bankruptcy proceeding by Penn Florida companies after defaulting on the $145 million loan they had. It's not just opportunistic, it's strategic. He's buying into distress, not weakness.
Was the $145 million, was that part of the loan to finish Mandarin that keeps taking forever? Or I'm just trying to remember everything here.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Larry. If you knew off the top of your head.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming there's
so many loans going on, so many things not being paid back. You lose track.
I think this is yeah, exactly. I think somehow this is crossed or involved with both projects together, but I don't know. So yeah, so it's interesting. They're like, why is Grant Cardone buying in Boca Raton? Well, he buys in South Florida all over the place. So this is his thing. He loves South Florida. It's his jam to buy apartment buildings, especially quality apartment buildings. And this is a recently built quality apartment building in a pretty epic location. It's not like the greatest location ever, but it's pretty damn good, right?
I mean, you got the view of the huge open sprawl of the golf course and the ocean just on the horizon.
It's pretty sweet.
I've flown the drone there a few times. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it's good. This is 101 Via Meisner luxury apartments, right? And again, it's got a view of the Boca Raton Club golf course, the Boca Raton Club. It's walking distance to the beach or bicycle ride to the beach. Downtown Boca Raton's right here. It's sweet. And then obviously the Mandarin's next door, and that's what we've been watching not get done for the past 10 or more years. So
say what, since 2019, I believe.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, just
they built this first. So Florida Penn built this first, and then proceeded to do this and got into trouble here. But they were able to finish this.
Well, hey, they've updated it on the Google Maps, so it must be coming along.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. For the longest time, anytime I pulled it up, it was just nothing but dirt.
Yeah.
Because, in fairness, it may have still been nothing but dirt. Just God.
Valid. So we'll see what's going on. I know, it's funny. I was buying some properties here in Boca, and I toured some of Grant's properties. He owns, or he did own, I don't know if he's sold them since. I haven't checked on this, but he owns stuff in Boca, or has owned stuff in Boca, specifically less fancy stuff. And it's like in this area right here, the Crossroads, this one at downtown Boca. I don't know if he still owns this thing, but this is one of the buildings he owns. So as well. So he might be.
So it's not just Class A luxury he's into. The man owns anything that can help make money, I guess.
Yeah, I was hoping Gemini would answer this question for us, but Gemini didn't. That's cool. Yeah. Well, let me down, man. Let me down.
Well, I was gonna say, it's funny you say that about Gemini, because I saw ads from Google today that were promoting like the latest update, as you see with every single AI thing now, the new version being unveiled.
Right? Yeah. Come on, AI. Do your thing. All right, let's talk about the new condo law.
Yeah. No. Not the new condo law. The newest new condo law.
Yeah.
Florida just rewrote the rule book for condo associations again, but are these reforms fixing problems or creating new ones? I'd imagine it's a little of column A and column B.
Yeah.
If you think your condo fees are high now, just wait. Florida's new condo law could make owning a unit even more expensive. Starting July 1st, major changes hit Florida condos, from reserve funding delays to stricter board responsibilities. If you own a unit, serve on a board, or plan to buy in a condo building, these updates could cost or save you thousands. Well, there's a big difference between saving and costing. All right, so the reserve funding delay or dilemma. Now associations have until December 31st of this year to fully fund reserves if certain inspections are done.
Look at that. So 6 months to fully fund reserves.
after they didn't already, but as we've talked about several times, how are you going to punish them if they can't?
So
it's like, okay, so you can't pay for it now, so we're going to fine you on something you can't already afford. It's a mess.
So the state is just going to be like, okay, you missed again. Let's change.
Again, it's like the kid. Yeah, you just did your homework. It's like, okay, well, if you turn it in,
execute them, right? You're gonna burn the building down. I don't know.
And it's like, as critical as I am of lawmakers on this one, I couldn't offer a better solution. I don't know what the answer is here. So, it's going to be a problem we're going to be talking about for some time.
Any consequence of this is basically like a fine on some level, right? So like, if they don't do it, what do? Do you fine them? Fining them.
They're not even paying for that.
That's my point. They can't. So So they already don't have the money, and then you fine them. Okay, and then say you just like put some like blacklist together where like they're bad. Well, then the lenders aren't going to lend to them, and so their prices are going to come down. And so that's another form of a fine, right? So you see what I'm saying? So like, what's the solution to some of these issues? It's just kind of keep putting a little bit of pressure.
Well, Larry, as the infomercial voiceover guy would say, wait, there's more. Loan power equals voting headaches. Boards can now borrow money for the repairs and reserves, but only with majority approval.
So that's interesting, right? So now these people who are in charge of the boards, and a lot of them don't have too much experience, and they're probably and partially, or they have experience, or the experienced people don't want to get involved, or they're overworked. Yeah, they're overworked, or they just don't know what's going on. Whatever. Everybody, all these amateurs get to vote in taking a big loan. That sounds great. And some of these loans are millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah,
like crazy at present day rates. Like the loans that were taken like 4 years ago, at least those were at like 2.5%, right? 3%, 4%. So
evidently another part of this, boards must now offer both in-person and video options. I'm surprised that wasn't some sort of law that was passed, during the pandemic.
It's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous thing, because we've had so many issues with this.
How so?
Just in the sense of like we've had boards or communities that won't let you buy a property without physically interviewing. Now imagine if you're buying something and you live outside the country, right? This person can't close because they won't interview in person. Like that type of stuff. It's like, what is going on? So this is a little bit of a different dynamic. This is talking about boards, but this is great because probably what happens then, if there's video options, it's recorded. So you can literally watch the recordings, which is a beautiful thing because
and we'll automatically transcribe it. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Hopefully.
So all of that, like the meeting minutes that are like pulling teeth to get from associations when we're trying to buy a property and understand what's going on. In theory, there's going to be a portal where you can just watch hours and hours of these videos, or read the transcripts, or get the AI cliff notes of it, right, or something where you can like easily get the answers. So this is great. God, they suck so bad. So
again, that just pulled them into the 21st century, kicking and screaming.
Totally. Exactly. It's just like ridiculous that we even have to like do this, that this is like, you have to put laws in place to freaking make these communities.
Yeah. That things that will make their lives so much easier. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like it's making it inconvenient. It's actually one of the few things that's like, no, this will really kind of make things a lot easier for you.
Look at this. Recordings now mandatory. And
well, that's what I'm saying. It's just like, right. They have to be stored as official records, which, well, good luck with that.
This is good. This is so good.
I can already hear the old people. It's like, it's on the cloud. Where is the cloud?
This is like, it's like unreal. And so now they talk about this other stuff, more condos. So now 25 plus units must post minutes and financials online. So you need it. Like, again, this is just like freaking ridiculous. You people don't understand like my stress around this. Like,
no, I don't. But I know you hurt.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to help clients buy freaking property, or we're trying to help clients sell property, and the sellers can't even get the goddamn minutes. So it's like what is happening? Like people who actually own the unit can't get the shit. So like now it's like, okay, for the most part, almost every condo building, most condo buildings are bigger than 25 units, are going to they're required to post them online. So we can just hit the download button. We'll see how they screw that up. We'll see. But it's way better.
But I'll tell you what, though, if I was a software developer looking for something ambitious, I would totally design a program that would handle
all
this whole thing,
top to bottom. Yeah, it's great. It could be great. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great business idea. Just get that out.
You're welcome. All right. So 10 new oversight hires have been approved, including financial examiners. I'm a little confused by that.
This is for the state.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So they've hired more people to try to get people in line, get these condos in line. There's so many condos. God, that's so hard. So yeah.
Well, thoughts and
State can
prayers.
now audit and verify whether repairs were actually done after inspections. Interesting.
So you couldn't do that before?
I guess not.
All right. Well,
all the crazy stuff. This is all super positive, man. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. Right. I'm sure long term, this is going to be a breath of fresh air to everybody involved in this process. It is just the growing pains are just, excruciating.
Yeah. Managers face stricter contract rules and potential 10-year bans for violations. Good. This is all good. I mean, I don't know. Maybe these.
What do you mean? I'm confused.
Property managers or
what? So they just can't work in the business? How does that?
Yeah, they just get because they have licenses in order to do this. In most cases, most of the time, you have what they call a CAM license or things like that in order to be there and work. So again, this is back to these property managers on site. They suck. They suck so bad. They don't care. They don't know anything about it. They just don't. They don't respond. And so if you're not responding to shit, hopefully you get and it's a legitimate request. Hopefully there's some consequences now, because before it was just nope, no minutes for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just that's it. They just do.
So on the same token here, board members face more obligations and scrutiny without pay, which that's kind of vague. I don't see anything else with that.
It's vague, but generally I think the theme is it's good. But again, this is goes back to who wants to be a board member? This sucks, man.
I totally understand. Right. It's most of these people involved, they're retired. It's they're trying to get away from work.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure there's nosy Karens that want to, have their fingers in everything. That's normal, but not everyone is like that.
So this is great. So this is exactly what I just said, but it says attorneys say this might discourage good people from serving altogether. Yeah, probably. Who wants to do this job? Nobody, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sucks.
So, non-discretionary funding is a new definition, and it's vague. I don't even know what to say to that, unless you have something.
No, we can continue on.
All right. So,
it's vague.
Question.
It's vague.
No. So either way, it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. We certainly wish the best of luck to everybody involved here. So you had mentioned earlier about the whole Indian Creek Island and Jeff Bezos, and it turns out there's some stuff going on there too. For people who are not familiar with it, it's the billionaire island where Jeff Bezos, Jared Kushner live. Tom Brady's got a place there. A lot of notable people, and they also have a fight going on over sewage. That's interesting. So you would think when you've spent $80 million on a waterfront mansion that you wouldn't have to think about where the sewage goes, but turns out that's not exactly the case, dividing the 40 or so ultra-rich residents of Indian Creek. The village wants to overhaul its entire sewage system, moving from septic tanks to a full sanitary sewer. Sounds simple, and apparently it's not. And
so this is the
Indian Creek Island
here.
Didn't you say you've been there, right?
No, this is Fisher Island.
The other, what was it?
Is the other one Fisher Island? Yeah. So I think you might be able to just drive on. I don't know. There's some of these islands like Star Island, these other ones crossing, you can just kind of cruise through, believe it or not. But I don't know about this one. This might be more private. Either way, I have not been here, but this is super interesting that they're having this problem. But what's even more interesting is if you continue to read on how they're handling it, right? So the claim here is Indian Creek septic tanks are polluting Biscayne Bay. This problem's been noted in government reports, right? And the village spent millions laying pipe under their only road, but had nowhere to send the waste. So they have these pipes.
Nowhere to send the waste. It's don't you have a system set up?
the cities have a system. The cities have a system. So they asked Surfside, like, hey, can we connect our stuff to your waste system? And Surfside asked for $10 million, which Indian Creek officials, including Kushner, now a council member, called a shakedown. So they weren't willing to pay $10 million to do the connection or whatever.
Which I understand in principle, but I also know that's like a drop in the bucket to a lot of you, especially if you divvy it up.
It's like you don't have to fight for this, right? Like they could just pay this bill. Like
I mean, it's like split it among 40 ultra rich people. I'm sure you'll be okay.
Here's my thought around this. Like if it was, I think it's possibly an ego thing,
no,
right?
Of course, I said I get it. It's the principle.
Yeah. It's two. They probably had counsel, and the counsel was like, "Oh yeah, we can handle this. Don't worry about it. Like we'll get this done." So the fight is like probably worth it to them. And they're probably not thinking too much about this. Would be my guess. They don't really care as much, I'm sure. So
meanwhile, the base suffers, Larry.
The fish. The fish
right?
are hurting.
You don't want the
sewage. So listen to this though. This is the craziest part. So Indian Creek quietly lobbied the state legislature to pass a new law buried in a transportation bill. Okay. So the law bans towns like Surfside from blocking or charging for certain sewer line connections. So the bill passed. Okay. So they snuck this puppy in. The bill passed.
Nobody ever actually reads the damn bills.
Yeah, exactly. So they snuck it in. So now it's headed to Governor Ron DeSantis, whose signature would seal the deal, forcing Surfside to allow the connection. So this is bananas. Like Surfside was like, no. And they were like, oh, no, I got a better plan. Okay, we can give us a minute. We'll think about it. And then they do this bill thing because they'll pay
Ron under the table to sign it.
So it's bananas. So yes, they get this done. So Ron's gonna get some pocket change.
Right. Unbelievable.
So it's now. So they say it's not just about plumbing, right? It's about how political influence intersects with ultra luxury development, which is just unreal.
Right. That golden rule has always been around. Like come on.
Yeah. So listen, Indian Creek is getting their plumbing one way or another. Yeah. Surfside, just get used to it.
They got greedy.
You should have asked for $5 million. I'm sure they offered a settlement number, and you probably. It
makes you wonder what it was.
Yeah. I wonder what they're going to have to pay now. Like it might be zero. So
in theory, yeah,
crazy. Yeah. This is interesting. The law sets a precedent. If municipalities can't charge for historical infrastructure costs, it shifts the burden to taxpayers, even when billionaires benefit. So there we go. Yeah.
Oh man.
And like you said,
that is interesting though.
The bay is already suffering from algae blooms, fish kills, and beach closings due to septic runoff. Here's my thoughts around that though too. Like to get like dramatic over it, I'm sure there's more issues that are contributing to that than just.
Well, I was gonna say, like, how long has that been a problem?
Well, that and like, how many people do you think actually live in these houses on the island? Like, they're not even there
a month out of the year.
Yeah, and out of that year, like, how many physical people are there? There's probably not that many. I know there's a handful of homes on that island, but like, I don't know.
That's probably why you can drive on to most of those places, because half the time nobody's there.
Yeah, I question like what that's all about. So it is what it is. But anyway, well, let's wrap this up.
I would say, all right, well, we're wrapping it up then. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and we certainly will keep you up to date with all of what's happening in South Florida, including, as mentioned at the beginning of the show, housing market update for Boca Raton. That will be up either this weekend or early next week. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll see you guys again next Thursday. On behalf of Larry Mastropieri, broker owner of the Mastropieri Group, I'm John Laws of Discover South Florida. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.